Hey, welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for showing up this evening for yourself and for humanity. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be offering this introductory webinar for the Cosmic Consciousness Certification course. Some of you have seen the Intro to Cosmic Consciousness presentation that I did a while ago. This may look the same to begin with, but it's not exactly the same at all. There's a lot more stuff in here that's designed to really help you know what's going to be available to you in the course. I know some of you may not even be thinking about taking the course, but I'm hoping that by the time we're done, you'll really be into it, because the whole thing about this cosmic consciousness is that I believe with every shred of my being that this is the new language or the new consciousness. It utilizes astrology, but it isn't really all about astrology. Astrology, in my estimation, has always been the language of the higher self, and with the growth and expansion of my own consciousness over the years, I've come to realize that the cosmos represents it is actually literally the reflection of the higher self. I've talked about that many times, but if you think about what that means, I think it begins to take on much more significance. Everything in the cosmos is a part of your consciousness, your higher consciousness. And when you begin to understand the language of the cosmos, you begin to fully realize yourself at the higher level. So we're going to talk about all that tonight. But what I would like to do, and I want to say that this is going to become a part of the class every single week that we meet. We will begin every class with a short guided meditation, because a meditation is incredibly important for accessing the higher consciousness. It's really not possible to fully grasp it without centering yourself in your heart and getting still. And so the first thing we're going to do tonight is a very quick guided meditation. This is the same meditation that I do when we have classes. And so if you'll all join me, hopefully enough of you are on right now to gain the benefit, because it's extremely important to be present for the meditation in order to gain the access to the connection that happens amongst us all when we meditate together in this way. So if you'll indulge me, everybody please take 3 wonderful deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Please join me and do it a second time. And one more time, and this time when you exhale, please close your eyes. Now we're going to do, very quickly, the sun-moon breath, which is we are going to breathe deeply in through the left. We're going to cover the right nostril, breathe deeply in through the left nostril, hold the breath for a couple of seconds, and then breathe out through the left nostril. Then we will do the same by holding the left nostril and breathing in through the right, and we're going to repeat that 3 times. Holding in the center is very important, because it's in the center of the breath that we access the still point. So everybody close your right nostril with your thumb and breathe deeply in through your left. And hold. And exhale. And repeat doing the same thing, holding your left nostril. Again, holding the right. Holding the left. One more time. In through the left. Hold. Out. Right. Hold. Out. Keeping your eyes closed. Drop your consciousness into your heart center. Be still, and you're centered in your heart. Consciously open it. Breathing through your nose, out through your mouth. While you're breathing, imagine a sphere of brilliant white light in the center of your heart. Each time you inhale, that white light grows more brilliant and illuminated. Each time you exhale, it expands. Encompasses your whole chest area. In, and it grows brighter. Breathe out, and it encompasses your entire chakra system. In, grows even more brilliant. Out, and it expands into your entire energy field. Breathing, expanding the light. This time it encompasses the entire group. We're all connected in the unity of this brilliant white light that began in the center of each and every heart that's present. Your hearts connected to one another. Just sit for one moment, stillness, the incredible expansion. Okay, now we are in 5D consciousness as one being. Just open and allow what comes to reveal itself to you. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is answer the question, what is cosmic consciousness? This is a quote from Elizabeth Clare Prophet that has been very, very important to me from the moment I saw it many years ago. And it says, this is the teaching of the stars for the golden age. It has to be an inner teaching of the ascended masters. This is the opening of her book, The Cosmic Clock, which is actually the way this whole system was birthed. I was introduced to that book after my teacher, Derek O'Neill, kind of prompted me to begin searching for the truth of astrology. And when I found that book, I realized that I had the bones of the system in my hand. The book is available. It's going to confuse you, and it's really not exactly what the system is anymore. The system has grown and expanded in consciousness as I have stepped into the role of facilitator of expanding this system. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients, and tens and tens of students. And together, each and every soul that has connected with me has helped to expand this system into a language that I am just so excited to bring to the planet. I believe it is my mission to deliver this language to the planet, and I believe that every single soul on this call tonight and every soul that will hear this recording is here for a reason. I believe that we are the ones to help to bring this consciousness to the planet. If you're even a little bit interested in astrology, and I assume that you are since you're here, I want to say that this system is the real essence of astrology. Many of you know that I have been an astrologer for 47 years, most of my life. I did my first professional reading when I was 16, and that was 47 years ago. And I've known from the beginning that there was just a lot wrong with the way astrology was being used. I didn't quite understand what was wrong. I didn't know how to fix it. I only knew that while I love the language of the symbolism of astrology, it wasn't being used properly. I have major memories of being an astronomer and an astrologer at the same time. I know that that's the way it used to be, and I believe that I was there doing that then. Science and astrology were merged at one point, and they are beginning to merge again. And as they do, the real appropriate use of astrology becomes clear again. It's one of those 5D veils lifting that shows us the truth. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it. I want to say first, for those of you who, I hope most of you are on the spiritual path, and if you're not, I hope you want to be. This system has everything to do with the spiritual path and the Ascended Masters. I've been extremely involved with the Ascended Masters for 30 years, maybe 40 years now, and many of you know that I'm profoundly connected to Master Khatumi, who speaks through me. He is me. We're one. The voice you hear on my blog comes through Master Khatumi and me. We have a single voice, if you will. Khatumi was an astrologer as well, and he has been helping me, along with some of the other Ascended Masters, to really understand the system and make it viable and workable. The system came into being when Elizabeth Clare Prophet was 9 years old, and she had a visit from Mother Mary, who delivered the cosmic clock to her. I'm going to show you what the cosmic clock is in a moment. But I started studying astrology when I was 9 years old, so the moment I read that, I knew there was something here for me. It's just one of those cosmic connections, if you will. So the system, Elizabeth Clare Prophet, for those of you who don't know, was part of a pair. Her husband, Mark Prophet, was also one of a pair known by the Ascended Masters as the Messengers. They delivered a lot of information to them. Both of them have transitioned now. They're both Ascended Masters of their own, on their own right now. But while they were here in their last lifetime, they authored many, 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 many books. They were very prolific. And this cosmic clock was just one small piece. And I do feel absolutely beyond any shadow of a doubt, and I say this, I've gone through a lot of ego stuff to get to the place where I feel very free to say this. I absolutely feel that it is my life's purpose to complete the work that Elizabeth Clare Prophet began and the Masters delivered to her and to me. And so this system is a way to understand the higher self. This is, I don't know how many of you have ever seen this picture. This is called the Magic Presence. The Ascended Masters delivered this picture to us many years ago. This is what we really look like, each and every one of us. This is us in our 3D human form at the bottom here. And above that is the Christ itself. And then you see that little white line right here that goes all the way up to the God self. And this is the truth of our being. And if you'll notice, you'll see that at the very God self level, there are 12 rays emanating from the God self. This is all the story of astrology. This is what astrology really is. And when we fell, or when we chose to separate ourselves and began to experience duality, we forgot where we came from. And that was about 12,000 years ago. And we are now at the other end of that cycle, and we are headed back toward our God selves again. We're in for an incredible journey, and this cosmic consciousness language is one of the simplest, easiest ways to get back there, especially if you have a propensity for the symbolism of astrology or any symbols at all. It's that kind of a language, and once you learn it, you can speak to anyone in the new consciousness, help people get there very quickly. You don't have to sit down with a chart to help a person out, although if you're an astrologer, you can certainly use this system to do that. And the course that I'm about to teach will show you exactly how. Everyone will learn to speak this language, and I'm going to teach it both didactically by teaching lessons and also experientially. My idea is that this language really can't be spoken only with your intellect. It's very important to embody the symbolism, embody the language, and also to work intuitively to bring the language through you to others. Astrology is a language of symbols, and it is an intuitive art. You have to understand the basics of it, but then the intuition has to take over. So a lot of this course will be designed to get you to expand your intuitive function and get really comfortable with it, because you can't really read this language fluently or speak it fluently without an easy and well-evolved intuitive function. So that's part of my main goal with this course, is to teach you to use your intuition and be very comfortable with it. Every single one of you has an incredible intuition. There isn't a human being on the planet that doesn't have an intuitive function. All you have to do is practice, and you have to know how to practice to use it. Okay, so this here is just a picture of the cosmos. There are many pictures of the cosmos. This is just one little sector of it. It's not anything in particular. However, it's very important that you note that when you look at this picture, you are looking at your own higher self. This is your own reflection, and you are going to see in it whatever you see according to your own higher consciousness. It's the essence of the cosmos. The cosmos contains billions of galaxies and stars. It contains planets. It contains fixed stars. It contains it contains the zodiac of the signs, which is much more local to our consciousness. I'm going to explain all of that, but everything out there matters, and it's important to understand what it is it represents. And it's, again, symbolism and the language of the symbol that matters the most if you're going to be able to understand this language. So in order to really be able to understand, we practiced this a teeny bit a minute ago, but I talk about this all the time. We have to be able to slip into the observer's perch whenever we want to, and we can. It's not a difficult thing to do. This picture here is my favorite way of doing it. Some of you have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it over and over again. This picture of the full moon over the ocean is something beautiful to behold. When we look at it from this perspective, it represents the emotional body, basically. But when we shift our perspective to the moon itself, when we watch the ocean from the moon itself, and we see the tide going back and forth from far away, we begin to understand that the emotion, the energy in motion that lives in our being, is being created by the emotional self, and it is not something that we have to identify with. When we can compassionately detach from all the emotion that's going on, it's free to ebb and flow and bring us back to our heart center. That's what emotion is meant to do. We begin to realize that the moon itself is creating the tides, that we are creating those tides. They're not just things we have to live through. They're created by our own inner emotional energy. And so once we get that, we sit calmly in the water in a meditative state. We can watch the earth from there. This picture of the earth is the first time I ever realized I had a higher consciousness was when I saw that photograph of the earth from the moon. That for me was it. That flips your consciousness. It makes it possible for you to observe where you are and who you are. And cosmic consciousness just takes that to a whole other level. The whole thing about the observer's perch is that you can watch the whole world's drama from the moon and not be terribly involved in it. But the real key to sitting in the observer's perch is to shift your focus from the moon there onto yourself, not onto everything that's going on, but onto you. And when you do that, and that's why a lot of this course is going to be taught using your own chart, because the greatest thing one can understand is their own being. There's nothing else to understand, honestly. If you understand you, you understand everything. And that is what this system is all about. So the system is based on the spiral of life. And this is a picture from Nassim Haramein, who I love madly because he is bringing the truth together with science and making it very clear. And this dovetails very beautifully with the work that I'm doing. And so this is a picture that he put out there. This picture on the left is a picture of a hurricane. The picture on the right is a picture of a galaxy. And the picture on the bottom is a picture of a molecule. And they're all pretty much exactly the same because all of life is made out of that Fibonacci spiral, which is created by the golden ratio, which is the way the numbers work. Numbers are the fabric of the universe. They speak to the rays, they speak to our physical being, they speak to everything. Numbers literally make up the fabric of the universe. And when you put them together in prime, when you use only the prime numbers, you get this Fibonacci spiral. And if you look at all of life, including us, you'll see this is a picture of our DNA in the middle there. We're all made up of spirals. All of life is made of the spiral. So the spiral is interesting because it only moves in two directions, up or down, basically. When you move counterclockwise, if you look at the picture on the left, you see counterclockwise, everything is moving down toward the physical realm. When you move clockwise, everything is moving up toward source. You see it again illustrated on the right. And the thing is that the birth chart is set up as so that everything moves counterclockwise. You'll see, those of you who know what a birth chart looks like, you can see that the signs run counterclockwise around the chart. And scientists say that all the planets in our solar system move counterclockwise. I've never understood that personally. It's never felt right to me. And I put this question up here that someone asked because it's the question a lot of people ask. How do we know that everything is orbiting counterclockwise? Because it seems like it's an observational thing. Depends on which way you're looking, right? And this man, Jeff Mangum, said, yes, the direction of rotation is relative to the orientation of the observer, relative to the solar system. So if you're looking from the inside out, things appear to be moving counterclockwise. If you're looking from outside the solar system in, everything should be moving clockwise. He says the orientation we normally use is relative to the vantage point above the plane of the solar system. So we need to shift our consciousness up above in order to move clockwise and back towards source. To put this another way, moving counterclockwise is the story of the physical realm of separation of 3D consciousness, right? So this chart here, this birth chart, as it's set up in classical astrology, is actually just a map of your current incarnation. And this is how it gets birthed, if you will. We live on this spiral. This spiral is eternal. We are eternal beings. We are always on our own little individual spiral. When we decide to incarnate, we pick the moment, and we pick the moment for very particular reasons, which I'll explain in a minute. But when we pick the moment, if we were to slice our spiral from left to right at the moment of our birth and then the moment of our transition out again, and you would see this picture here, which is a picture of the birth chart. Here's another way to look at it. This is your eternal energy field with the spiral here. When you decide to move into physical form, you choose a time, a moment, and if you were to look at this energy field head on from up above, you would see it's your birth chart, right? So the birth chart is a snapshot of the 100 years you're going to be here. And if you remain on the counterclockwise spiral, you will remain on the wheel of life. Counterclockwise is fear-based. Clockwise is love, right? There's only two directions, love or fear. Counterclockwise moves toward the physical, toward the ego, toward fear. Clockwise moves toward source and is devoid of fear. It's all about love. Self-love, by the way. Self-love is the only thing that matters. Nothing else matters. You're going to love everyone perfectly when you love yourself perfectly. That's the only thing that really matters. So we need to find a way to take our birth chart, be conscious of where we are in it, and begin to move clockwise. And the way to do that is the thing that Mother Mary gave to Elizabeth Clare Prophet, and here it is, the cosmic clock. Okay, so the cosmic clock, why a clock? It has to be a clock, because we are incarnating for a period of time. We're literally coming into physical form to have the experience of time. Time does not exist outside of the third dimension. It doesn't exist at all. Beyond the third dimension, in the fifth dimension, we are experiencing space, but not time. Time is relevant only when you're in physical form. So the way to correct the counterclockwise motion that we're set in when we are born, we need to superimpose this cosmic clock on top of the birth chart. And we begin, and there's a way, according to Mother Mary, that we can figure out exactly where we are on the clock, and we can work in that here and now space to choose love, to reverse the direction of our energy. This is what the cosmic clock is all about. The cosmic clock begins, the zodiac in cosmic consciousness begins with Capricorn, not Aries. The reason it begins with Capricorn is because at the winter solstice, which is what Capricorn is, the sun is conjunct the galactic center. The galactic center at this moment falls at 27 Sagittarius, which is very close to 0 Capricorn, the winter solstice point. It looks a little off because we've moved a little bit, but the bottom line is 0 Capricorn is source. That's where we connect with source. The galactic center is a black hole at the center of our Milky Way galaxy, and that black hole is the place from which everything we experience in the physical world comes from. It's source. It is source itself. You could call it the 13th dimension or the 14th dimension, whatever dimension it is. I don't know how many. I'm not going to pretend to know how many dimensions are involved here, but it's the highest dimension our being can reach in this realm here. There's plenty beyond our solar system. There are, it boggles the mind to think about it. What we want to do is get present. We want to be present in the here and now, in our physical form, and remember our higher self. And that will begin us spinning in the proper direction. And that is what our work is right now as light workers, as spiritual teachers, as human resource workers, as people who, whatever it is you do, you are here to be a light being for the rest of the planet. We are on the cutting edge of this, as Derek referred to it, this humongous tsunami that is about to change our world completely. We are the avant-garde. We are the ones who are getting it first. And this is one amazing way to do it. It's an amazing kind of shortcut symbol language that allows you to cut through all the drama and all the heaviness and all the karma. The cosmic path of initiations, which is a healing modality I created so that I could help people walk through their clock. And of course, that's always a possibility for anyone who takes this course. You will be certified as a cosmic consciousness astrologer. There is another course, not quite as intricate, that is more about how to facilitate people through the clock, and that's a different certification, but that's for later on. Cosmic consciousness itself is plenty to understand. Each of the, you'll see there's a 13 here, because in the 5th dimension, the universe is made up of 13 parts, not 12. The 13th part being you, your consciousness, and the consciousness that connects with source. I can just point it out to you briefly here. The you here and the Antakarana, which is what that white light is called, that connects with source itself, that goes even beyond the God self. I mean, it goes all the way to the God self. That is one point if you look at it on a clock. This point here is you and your connection to source. It also runs this way. This point here is your crown chakra. Each of the hours on the clock is related to a chakra and all kinds of amazing, a ray, a master. The masters on this clock have signed on for all eternity to preside over one of the signs, because the signs represent the different qualities of our consciousness. We all contain every single sign within our being. And so we need to understand all of those signs. When we choose to be a particular sign, for instance, I'm a Libra, if you choose to be a Libra, then you are choosing to focus your consciousness, your identity, through that particular quality of consciousness. But because you contain all the signs, all the qualities of consciousness, it's important to understand each and every one of them. so that when something big is happening in Pisces, for example, Chiron is going retrograde this week in Pisces, you want to know where that part of your energy field is and what it means to you. The more you understand this language, the more you'll be able to grasp all of that very quickly. And of course, everything in cosmic consciousness speaks to the higher purpose. Here is my chart with the clock superimposed. This is what we do. This is my birth chart. You leave your chart alone. You don't move it around. You leave it as it is, and then you superimpose the clock with its hours as they are right on top. I want to say this. The planets in our solar system represent the various archetypal energies that every single human being works with. That's why they're in our solar system. I like to spell solar S-O-U-L-A-R, which has the sun in the center, and the sun is the generator of our individual consciousness. Without the sun, we would not be here. I believe, frankly, that we are all conceived on the sun, and when we decide after conception to have a physical experience, we make a beeline for the earth, because that's where the physical experience is here. And then 9 months later, we are born. And so there's a relevance to all of that on the clock. You start at 12 o'clock at conception. That is the spiritual body. And then you move through the mental body and then the emotional body. And at 9 months, you're born into the physical body. This is the physical body here. There is nothing about cosmic consciousness that does not make sense. It's a revelation every time you learn something. It's just impeccable. It's an impeccable system, and there's just nothing about it that is off, which is, very different from classical astrology. I mean, for me, it's always been off. For example, I never understood why Virgo was ruled by Mercury. Sure, we think it is now because we've been told that Virgo is all about analysis and detail, but that's not what Virgo is about. I'm going to go into the signs in a minute. I'm going to give you all a taste of the signs. I've done that before. I'm going to do it again because it's really important to shift the consciousness from the lower symbolism to the higher symbolism. And it's good to identify yourself with that new consciousness. Let me just go back here a minute. I pointed out all this stuff. So this is how the chart is laid out. Spiritual quadrant, the mental quadrant, the emotional, and the physical. And the trifold flame of the heart has replaced the qualities of cardinal, fixed, and mutable. They are now power, love, and wisdom. And, of course, I'll teach all of that in the course. Okay, so the solar system is where we live. The planets are in a very particular order. We see them the way we see them because of the way the archetypes work in our consciousness. Those planets are reflections. We can go there and we can land on them. We can make anything manifest. Everything is possible. But there is a reason why the planets are the way they are. There's a reason why they very recently discovered the Kuiper Belt, which is this area here of stars outside of Neptune and beyond Pluto here. The Kuiper Belt expanded our solar system to 3 times the size of what it was before, which is humongous. I don't know if you can figure how big that is, but this image here is a depiction of just the outer planets. It starts here at Jupiter and goes all the way beyond Neptune, which is, some call it the outermost planet, but I include the entire Kuiper Belt. The course will include the teaching of all the new planets we've discovered. Some of you know that my master students and I have worked very hard to channel the meaning of those new planets, and I've been working with them when I do readings for everyone, and I am ready to teach those planets. So that will be part of it. The solar system expanded because our consciousness did. It's just a reflection of our consciousness. Those outer planets, they've discovered 8 new planets, and there are many more, by the way. They just have only discovered and named 8 of them so far. And those 8 of them have been named because the collective consciousness has arrived at the capacity to work with the archetypes that those new planets represent. Some can, some not yet, but now that they're named and they're present, they're working on every single consciousness on the planet. And it won't be long before everybody is working with those archetypes. Again, if you're studying this course and you're into astrology, you are at the cutting edge of understanding this consciousness. Now, I'm not saying this is the only way to understand it, but if you like astrology and you like symbols, this is the way to go. Sure, there are other ways, but, you know, I'm telling you, this is an amazing journey. I like to talk about the illusion of the zodiac, because when we look out in the heavens, we see a zodiac, we see constellations and stuff. But I'm very fond of pointing out that if we were to get in a rocket ship and go to any one of those constellations, we would find it isn't there at all. You know, our mind is creating those constellations because the stars that make them up are nowhere near each other. They certainly are not the way they look to us from where we are. And so, you know, if they don't really exist, then what's really more true is that we are perceiving the reflection of what we believe in our consciousness. And that ring of signs, which represents the different aspects of our consciousness. The signs are the aspects, the different qualities of our consciousness. We all contain all of them. We all contain all the planets. We all contain all the signs. And by understanding what each quality is and how it functions, we can understand ourselves and, of course, everyone else better. But we have to begin by understanding that we're responsible for that creation. It doesn't even really exist. Actually, nothing in the physical world really exists. The more you know, the more you realize it's a big illusion. I wanted to point out Ophiuchus because Ophiuchus is the 13th constellation, and believe me when I tell you there are more, but this is what we're capable of right now. So you can see when you look at the constellations in this laid out like this, you can see that Ophiuchus is outside the line. It's outside the path of the sun, which is what that line is. It's the path of the sun. It's outside of the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the path of the sun. But it's visible to us now. We're conscious of it now. Ophiuchus is the snake bearer. It is the part of our consciousness that can capture the ego and have it serve us instead of being slave to it. So Ophiuchus is very important. It's number 13, and I showed you how in 5D the number 13 is extremely important. So, you know, these are the things we're going to break down in the class. So let me just see if I left anything out before I go into the signs. Okay, no, so I'm perfect. Before I continue, does anybody have a question? If you have a question, please push a button on your phone pad, and I will open up your mic. Well, if you don't, I will come back. If you do have any questions, if you're formulating them, please formulate them, and when I come back, feel free to ask, okay? One of you asked me before the teleconference, one of you said that you can't tell the difference, it's having a hard time telling the difference between the hours and the houses. So I want to say, without going into a whole big lesson, that the hours represent what the Bible calls the mansions of our consciousness. We all contain all of them. They represent the different parts of our energy field. And in cosmic consciousness, the hours are actually the mirror images of the houses in the classical astrology, which makes perfect sense when you consider that the cosmos is the reflection of your higher self, right? So just very briefly, let me go back to the clock here for a minute. If you were to fold the clock in half at this vertical axis here, then all the houses would fall on top of each other, so that this Pisces house here in classical astrology would fall on top of this house, which in cosmic consciousness is the Pisces hour, and vice versa. The Libra house is the Libra hour over here, and it's the same. The same is true for everything. It's a mirror image. The whole point of cosmic consciousness is that everything is a big mirror, and nothing is separate from you. Nothing. And this system teaches every way it can how that is true. And you get to the place where you simply know it. You just get it. You understand. There's no question. So I'm going to go through the signs and talk a teeny bit about them, just to sort of help you understand how the consciousness shifts. I've said many times that the Zodiac, which means ring of animals, has held as symbol for each sign an animal or some form of human symbol. I have shifted the symbols into a more conscious understanding of the sign. This is true, and we all contain all the signs, and each of these parts of us exists. But this is going to probably be most relevant and most interesting to you if you consider your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign. Just to shift yourself, understanding this symbol kind of just shifts you right away into the 5D consciousness. So Capricorn, we begin with Capricorn. We always begin with Capricorn when we are talking about the signs. Capricorn has been known as the goat, and in the new system, it's known as the executive director. This top picture on the right shows the connection to the higher self. It actually depicts the Antakarana that I was showing you in the other picture of the magic present. Capricorn encompasses the crown chakra and our connection with Source, and it is ruled over by the Ascended Master known as the Great Divine Director. I will share everything I can think of that I know, and I know a lot about the Masters when we speak, because the Masters actually represent the avatars of the sign. When we get to Pisces, you'll understand what I'm talking about. This picture of this human having reached the top of a hill is very much captures the essence of Capricorn. The soul stands at the top. It has journeyed all the way up. It has connected with its highest purpose, its highest self, its highest aim, and it can direct the whole show from where it stands. That's the nature of Capricorn. There's certainly a lot more to it, but we'll talk about that in the class. Aquarius has been known as the water bearer traditionally, and has become the great awakener. So the water or consciousness that the Aquarian soul pours out becomes the electrical energy of awakening that connects with the water itself. I've said many times that I believe, because we're in the Aquarian age now, that I believe that electricity and water have a brand new relationship, and pretty soon it will become a very powerfully awakening energy rather than something that can kill you. Because in 5D, the physical is very different than it is in 3D. We all know that because we've all become 5D humans now. Or at least we're well on our way, let's put it that way. The master that presides over Aquarius is Saint Germain, and Saint Germain will emerge as the avatar of the New Age within the next 100 or 200 years. It took Jesus a couple of hundred years to emerge, and it will do the same, and Saint Germain will take the same amount of time. Again, I'll discuss that much more when we talk about Aquarius in the class. Pisces has been known as the fish and has shifted into the ocean itself. The unity consciousness of Pisces is the limitless realm that the ocean represents to this planet. Pisces needs to recognize itself as that unity, not the fish that go a million different ways, but the unity field that contains every kind of fish and everything else that lives in the ocean. It contains it all. It's a vast and limitless soul, and it has a very unified consciousness, which until recently was completely misunderstood and just barely allowed. If you're a Pisces, you know what I'm talking about. And it's time to own your unity consciousness, because the world needs what you have. Of course, the master for Pisces is Jesus, actually the ascended Jesus, known as Sananda. Jesus is known as Sananda in his ascended form, but he is the avatar of the Piscean age. What that means is that every time we come around to Pisces, Jesus emerges as the greatest embodiment of God. Now that we're in Aquarius, it will be Saint Germain emerging. Aries used to be known as the ram and is now known as the divine spark of creation. Nothing starts without Aries. Aries begins everything, whether it's an Aries person or the Aries part of you. Whatever it is, that's where everything physical begins with a spark of fire. Just as conception begins with a spiritual merging and emerges eventually as a physical form. The master that presides over Aries is known as Helios, and Helios is literally the solar logos, or the consciousness of the sun. You may have heard it said, if you're on the spiritual path, that each and every single one of us will ultimately become a planet and or a sun. And so the sun and all the planets have a consciousness, and the consciousness of our sun is called Helios, and Helios is the master that presides over this sign. Taurus has been known as the bull, and it is shifted to the tree of life. Taurus is extremely rooted in the earth, and it's got its head up in the heavens, and it spans that entire range physically. It is a very stable, very present, very solid sign, and is presided over by the master. He's slipping my mind. He's a very young master. Can't think of his name right now. But he was the man who wrote the I Am Presence books and channeled. His name is Godfrey, sorry. Godfrey channeled Saint Germain and wrote a series of 14 books called the I Am Discourses that were Saint Germain's words. They're going to become very important in this new order. Godfrey is all about structure and order and beauty and nature. And and then there's Gemini, which used to be the twins and is now the diamond. Gemini is a multifaceted, precious, brilliant, shining, sparkling energy. It's been through a lot because it's been through 12,000 years of duality, and Gemini has lived in that duality and been most familiar with it. And so Gemini leads us out of duality, and once it transcends duality, it can be recognized as the diamond. The master of Gemini is El Moria. El Moria is a master who teaches us to move beyond the dualistic thinking into unity consciousness. He's known as the great leader, very powerful master. Cancer, traditionally known as the crab, is actually the mother. Actually, Cancer is one of two mothers in our zodiac. Cancer represents the Earth Mother and is also the sign that brings us fully into the emotional realm. So this has everything to do with the moon and the ocean and everything that we were talking about before. Cancer is the sign at the bottom of the clock and is the only sign connected with the root chakra. And the master on this clock, on this sign, is Serapis Bey. And Serapis Bey is in charge of the ascension on the planet. What happens at the Cancer portal, and portal is a cusp in cosmic consciousness. What happens at the Cancer portal is that the mind from Gemini and the heart from Cancer balance perfectly when we've done our work and our discipline, and ascension becomes possible there. That's where ascension happens in all of us, at the bottom of our being, at the Cancer portal, at the Gemini Cancer portal. Leo, traditionally the lion, is shifted into the life force, the sun itself, as we know. Without that life force, we wouldn't be able to be here. Without the light of the sun, we wouldn't have brilliance and the joy and the abundance and the magic that we have in our lives. That's what the sun brings to us. That's what Leo represents. The master on the Leo hour is Lady Liberty. I don't know if you know this, but the Statue of Liberty is actually an ascended master, and Lady Liberty has an etheric retreat just above Grand Central Station, believe it or not. So Lady Liberty is an amazing master who teaches the art of personal liberation and freedom. So, very interesting. Virgo. Virgo has been known as the Virgin, is now the master healer teacher who is the Divine Mother. Not the Earth Mother, the Divine Mother, the mother who births the Christ. And that Divine Mother births the Christ out of a very pure heart. That Immaculate Conception speaks to the purity of her heart. That's what births the higher consciousness. And we all have that within us. And that's the place where that happens, in the Virgo part of our being. Libra has been known as the scale, is now known as the mirrored self. Libra is the place where we begin to realize that our physical being separates us from our unity, and we learn in the Libra part of our consciousness that we are not separate from anything. Where it used to represent relationships, it now represents the true relationship with self. The master on the Libra hour is Mighty Victory. As I've said already that I am a Libra, and when I started studying, I didn't make these up, by the way. This is part of the system that Elizabeth Clare Prophet put forth. And when I read about Mighty Victory, I've never heard of Mighty Victory. I don't know if any of you have. I did so much research and tried to find stuff, but I didn't find much. There's a little, but not much. And I believe that's because we're about as far away from the Libra age as we could be, so it's pretty faded in our memory. But Mighty Victory holds a light that allows for the illusion of separation to disappear if you hold it before you. Nothing out there actually has tangibility. It all becomes a reflection. Very powerful master. Scorpio has been known as the scorpion, the eagle, or the phoenix, but I am calling Scorpio the alchemist because it's in the Scorpio part of our consciousness that we manifest the world out of our focus and the way we are focusing our beliefs. Or I should say the way our beliefs are focusing us. So when you're focused on fear, you're manifesting a fear-based world. And when you're focused on the higher aspects of yourself, you're manifesting that. When you're focused on love, you manifest love. Scorpio is a very magical sign. I think this picture on the left here in the center of the page is just so perfectly depicts the energy of Scorpio. The master on the Scorpio clock, on the Scorpio hour, is mighty Cyclopia. And Cyclopia, many of you know, is the single eye of God. Cyclopia is not a being that ever lived on the planet. He is one of the Elohim, one of the 7 beings that presides over humanity. And he represents the need for all of us to focus our vision on Source. When you're focused on Source, you're manifesting everything that you can. You're manifesting love everywhere. You're manifesting abundance. You're manifesting magic. Cyclopia reminds us to stay focused on God or Source, or as Derek calls it lately, the non-local. I'll be teaching a lot of that in the new course as well. The language is still changing, but it dovetails with everything that this represents here. And then Sagittarius, the last sign in cosmic consciousness, is known as the Archer or the Centaur. In the new consciousness, the Truth Seeker. You can see how this is a soul that stands on the animal kingdom and the chakra system, very profound in Sagittarius, a very spiritual sign. You can see how the heart is being aimed by the arrow. And the thing about Sagittarius is that it points to the galactic center. The galactic center falls in Sagittarius. It's a very, very conscious, powerful sign. And it's the place where we clear the decks in preparation for a new cycle of our evolution. And the master on the Sagittarius hour is Lord Maitreya. And Lord Maitreya is an interesting being. He carried the Christ consciousness while Jesus walked the earth. Jesus was not yet ascended when he walked the earth, and he was channeling Maitreya all the while he was here. He ascended after he was crucified. That crucifixion and resurrection was a very physical depiction of the initiations we are all going through now as we move from the 4th dimension into the 5th. I'll discuss all the dimensions and everything else in the new course. And then there's Ophiuchus. This is the symbol I came up with for Ophiuchus. It's a very conscious, awakened energy that is also represented by the snake eating itself, the eternal cycle of life, the white line, the Antakarana that runs from source into the core of the being is zigzagged here. It sort of brings up the tree of life, which, if any of you know, my brain's not working tonight. I know you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's the 13th sign. I don't know who the master is on that sign. I'm hoping that it will drop in at some point. We don't have that information yet. So these are a couple of, this is a depiction of the clock, the astrology and the clock. I'm not sure where this picture came from, but it's just so relevant, it freaks me out. And so I'm going to ask you now if you have any questions before I talk a little bit more about the course itself. Anybody have any questions at all? Please push a button on your phone pad and feel free to ask anything you like. No, somebody has. Oh, somebody does have a question. Let's see where you are. Ah. Hi, Gigi. Hi. Do you have a question? Gigi? Is your phone muted? Gigi? There you go. Are you there? Oh well. I'm not hearing you. I think you've got your phone on mute, and I'm not sure how you can. I'm gonna. I'll try you again in a little bit. Okay. Hello, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually working now. Great.
Oh my.
Okay. I was taking a chance, but this was good. Okay. My question is, as I was listening, I was writing down the masters, but I missed the information for each chakra. I think you mentioned the root chakra for Cancer, and then the crown for Capricorn.
Right. I didn't really mention the others. Well, they are. I can explain that to you. They are bridged. In other words, the 1 o'clock hour, the Aries, Leo. Let me get the clock for you so you know what I'm talking about here. Hope the screen isn't jumping around. Is it jumping around tonight?
Not for me.
Oh, good. That's very good to hear. Okay. So this 12 o'clock is the crown chakra. This 4 o'clock here is the 6 o'clock at the bottom here is the root chakra. So you have the 1 o'clock and the 7 o'clock here. These are the second chakras. This is the Hara chakra. And the Pisces hour, the Pisces hour and the Virgo hour, the 2 o'clock and the 8 o'clock, those are solar plexus. And then the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock, Aries and Libra, are heart chakra. And then the Taurus hour and the Scorpio hour, or Taurus and Scorpio, are the third eye chakra. And the Gemini and the Sag are the throat chakra. You may have noticed that we went from heart to third eye to throat. We kind of skipped the throat chakra, and there's a reason for that. It's when you really come to trust that this system is exact, you begin to realize that the throat chakra is a midpoint between the heart and the third eye, and the heart and third eye have to be balanced for the throat to be functioning properly. There needs to be a love balance, a conscious balance, so that the throat can work properly. And the throat has different meanings in Gemini and Sag. In Sag, we clear all our karma through our throat, and in Gemini, we speak our truth through the throat. Did you get all that? Did that help?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I find that very fascinating, so I just wanted to write it down so I can go back and think about it some more. Thank you.
Good. Well, you know I'm going to teach all of this in the course and much, much more. This course this time around is going to be extremely thorough, and it's going to come with visual aids and resources, and there'll be homework every week, simple homework, not like reading a book and writing an essay, but there's going to be 2 things to do. One will have to do with either looking at a planet or a symbol and speaking about it. The other will have to, or rather intuiting it. And the other will have to do with your own chart and how whatever I've taught that week speaks to your chart. And it's very swift and quick, but I want everybody to be available to do it and really work on it, because that's how you open up your consciousness. That's how it works. I promise you that if you take this course, I know a lot of you are already taking it. If you take this course, I promise you, you will end up not only speaking a brand new language, but you will end up able to really understand yourself and others in ways you never dreamed possible. I'm not kidding. There's 2 Gigi's here. I wonder if they're... Gigi, did you figure out how to speak? I guess not. I don't know what happened there. Anybody else have a question? Anybody want to ask me anything at all? I know it's a lot of information, but there must be something on your mind that is still sticking with you that you... Hi, Allison. Do you have a question?
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for this. My question is, in doing readings for people with this information, will it really be accessible for like a mass amount of people? I mean, I already do astrology that I don't know if it is for everyone. So what do you think about that?
My main goal is to make this for the masses. This is a language for the masses. I think if you read my website, you know that I've taken like the aspects and given them like names that make sense, right? Like I talk about the opposition being a bridge, and I talk about the square being a stepping stone. And so when I say to you, there's a Jupiter-Saturn stepping stone this summer, it kind of makes a lot more sense to a layperson than it does if you say there's a Jupiter-Saturn square going on, right? It's just the language is much more accessible and much easier to communicate to a person. And that's been my goal, really, is to take every single part of astrology, every planet, every sign, every hour, every aspect, and make it really easy to understand. I'm just about to do the books, too, that are going to be out there for the masses as well. You know, it's always been my lifelong dream to be the next Linda Goodman. I want to do cosmic sun signs. I'm going to do cosmic sun signs and just talk about each of the signs from that higher perspective. Because all of humanity, listen, this is my belief, and I think you'll agree with me. All of humanity is shifting now into the new consciousness. We're the avant-garde. We're the cutting edge. That's why I think it's so important for us to have this information and to work with it. You know, you can find, this certification doesn't mean you have to do it the way you're taught. It's just going to add to your language. So you can do it any way that works comfortably for you. You know what I'm saying? I think it's much easier to shift into the 5D language altogether because it's very confusing when you don't. As you learn it, you'll see what I mean. You know, as you begin to understand the real meaning of, say, Aries, the real meaning of a conjunction, the real the real essence of what each planet involved in a new cycle that is a conjunction represents. I mean, it really speaks so much more clearly to the consciousness, and it speaks to the masses. You know, there's 50 people on this call, but 200 people signed up for it and that's the most that's ever happened for me because people are really interested in this new consciousness. So does that answer your question? I hope that helps.
Oh, yeah. No, it's terribly exciting. Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Great. Gigi, do you have a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Was that you I was asking before? Because there's two Gigis on here. Okay.
Yes. I think so. I guess I'm not used to dealing with both the computer and the phone at the same time, so I have you on both at the moment. Sound is only coming out of my phone, and I didn't know how to access you when you kept asking.
Oh, okay. Oh, did you have a question?
So anyway, first I would like to say I do have a question, but I'm not sure it's well formulated. But in wanting to, tell you, I think it's more important that I'd like to communicate with you that I've been an astrologer, professional astrologer for some 20 years. I've studied astrologer for over 30 years. And I really am resonating with this big time. There was always something a little bit off the track for me in terms of the way that the energies came across for the signs. I very much am more in alignment with what you're saying, the higher expression of the energies. And so a lot of what you're saying is just feeling like it's almost awakening what's inside of me anyway, what's been inside.
Oh, you make my heart sing, Gigi. That's beautiful. That's my goal. That's, those who speak the language already. I'm hoping it really resonates with you. It should, because I'm telling you, there's some of my I call them my master students because they've been with me from the beginning. Some of them are on the call tonight. They really, they know what I'm talking about. They've helped me forge this system, and anyone who takes this course will continue to help me forge it, because it's a consciousness, and it continues to expand. So I hope you'll take the course. I really would love to have you, because you seem like the perfect one for that.
I would love that, and and I feel like there have been a few pieces kind of that still need to come together in terms of wanting to deliver a message to people now that we're really starting to be more unity consciousness, and people are wanting to explore that side of consciousness that maybe they never even knew about it before. Maybe they didn't have the urge to do that. So I would like to come out in a way and bring the highest information forward to everyone. So this really, really speaks to me. So having said that, I'm sorry?
I was saying it's for you. That's what this is for. It's for someone like you, ready to take it and bring it to the world. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Well, the question is, so in other words, I'm trying to visualize in my mind, when you say that you take your chart and you place the clock on top of your chart, now I'm imagining that, does the ascendant change, or how does that work?
No, here's my chart. Can you see it? It's not very big. Let me see if I can make it bigger. See it? This is my chart, with the clock superimposed. So this is the ascendant, 29 Aquarius. That is the ascendant of my birth chart. The planets are exactly where they are in my birth chart, but they fall in different hours when you put the clock on top. Okay, and so the way this works is, every year on your birthday, you begin a journey around the clock again. Right? So at 12 o'clock on October 23rd, which is my birthday, I begin this clock again. I am 63 years old, so this year I moved into the Aries year. Go around the clock. You go around the clock once every 12 years. We live in those 12-year cycles, right? Those Jupiter cycles.
Yeah.
And then we also go around the clock once a year. Every month, right around your birth date, you have some kind of an initiation. Something happens in your life. It could be very simple, like your mother calls, or it could be like an ascended master comes down in a dream and initiates you. It could be anything.
Right.
But it begins your next chapter.
Right.
And when you understand what the hours are, when you get them, and you understand, for instance, that my son is I live in the 1 o'clock hour. That's very different from living in the 8th house. I mean, the 8th house is a very 3D thing. The 1 o'clock hour is the Aquarius hour. It's all about learning to love myself unconditionally so I can share who I am with the world. Right? It's got the same intimacy energy, but it's not about the lower energies. It's about the higher energies.
Right, and intimacy with the self.
Intimacy with the self. In fact, everything in cosmic consciousness is about the self.
Yeah.
Everything.
That's awesome. That's just awesome. And one of the other things that made your explanation of cosmic consciousness is the Mayan astrology. Mayan astrology is really a very high expression of the birth data. And so yay for your system, because the Mayan astrology is not a language that I'm really familiar with, but certainly for people like me who really love astrology and understands the symbolism, really integrate that information, this is so easily transferable. It's great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I love that stuff too. It's a hard language to understand, that Mayan astrology, but I love it too. It's brilliant.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Gigi, very much.
You're welcome.
Let me move on. Hi, Lisa. Do you have a question?
Yeah. All this is very, very familiar. It's nice to hear these thoughts and this awareness being talked about in such an open way. My question is, kind of focusing more on Saint Germain and me being relatively familiar with him, would you say that this collective shift that has taken place, which I felt very impacted me greatly over the past 3 years, gearing more of the, you can say, human experience to embrace their alchemists within?
Absolutely.
So, in other words, it's like, as teachers, you can say, I think as the core baseline, without superimposing our perceptions into somebody else's mind, is more of saying, just realize the value of one's choices.
Exactly. Yes. Yep. Perfect. Yes.
Wonderful.
Well, that's what the consciousness is, really, right? It's really all about, it's not about imposing yourself on other people. It's more about having a broad perspective and being able to find the language to share it. And letting people find their own way, right?
Right, our common ground, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. A couple of people here that have a question. Hello, Sawanda. How are you?
Oh, good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh, perfect. Yay. Okay, I'm sorry. I had a question about Godfrey. You mentioned him, I believe, as a master with Taurus.
Yes.
I wonder if you could speak just a little bit more about the book that you had said was channeled with Saint Germain. This is new to me, but I'm very fascinated with everything that we're talking about.
It's a series of, I think it's 17 hardcover books called the I Am Discourses.
Okay, I Am Discourses.
And
okay.
I have them on my shelf here. They're so beautiful, and they're all written in purple ink because it's Saint Germain being channeled.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. So you can find them. You can get on Amazon and find them, I'm sure. The first one is off the hook. The very first one is off the hook. I recommend it. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Okay.
Reading that book probably about 15 years ago, maybe 20, it changed my life, just that first book.
Okay.
You'll love it.
All right, well, I'll definitely be looking this up. Of course, just with my own being Taurus, but I'm really getting much deeper and working more with Ascended Masters and being very drawn to astrology and loving the website and just everything. So I'm really interested in the course myself.
Oh, good.
Yeah, well, thank you so much I'm glad I got through. It was confusing. My phone, I'm trying to do it while on the house phone, so thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay.
Thanks for getting through.
Sure. Glad, thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, Janine, did you push your button?
Yes, I did. I'm so glad. I didn't see my name on there, so I'm glad I showed up. Yes, my question is, I'm already signed up for the class, but I'm curious, this Ascended Master thing is really spiked my interest. I didn't realize there was a master for each sign. And during the classwork or homework or, however you bring it up, will there be moments that we connect with them intuitively? Like you'll have us really connect with that, that sign.
The homework is going to be I'm going to send you pictures of them, and you're going to connect with them and open up the channels with each and every
Wonderful. One. Wow. That just
telling you, it took me about 4 years to get this system really, really teachable, but I've got it down now, and it's really, this is it. This is the big one. So I hope that every one of you will really consider, if this is speaking to you at all, just come on and take the course, and really start to move into the new consciousness and the new language, because it is something. Let me tell you a teeny bit about. Did you have any other questions, Janine?
No, that was it. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
You're welcome. Let me tell you a teeny bit about the course. It's a long course. There are going to be 52 classes, 52 90-minute classes. They will not be every single Monday night. Classes will be on Monday nights. It will not be every single Monday night. Nobody could handle that. I'm going to do them in series of 6 with 2 weeks off. 6 weeks, 2 weeks off. There will be other weeks where I won't be able to be on because I travel a lot. I'll certainly let everybody know well in advance when that's the case. So this course is going to take closer to 18 months to complete, I think, because of the way it's being laid out. And I just want everyone to know I'm very happy that you guys want to take the course. I hope all of you will take the course, and anyone who listens to this afterward as well. Everyone is welcome. There's room, because you can see how this works. There's room for everyone. But there's going to be a big emphasis, really, on spiritual discipline in this class. As I said in the very beginning of this webinar tonight, it's going to be extremely important that you show up to the class on time, because each class will begin with a short meditation that will allow us to move into the new consciousness together. You know, this new consciousness, it's a unity consciousness. It can't be done by yourself. And so I also ask that that you really set aside the time to be in the class with me. Don't be driving your car. You can't meditate while you're driving. You know, be in a place where you can be in front of your computer and on the phone. You know, really take the time to discipline yourself to be present here, because I cannot begin to tell you, if you don't know already, how incredibly significant it is to be disciplined with yourself. Spiritual discipline is the key to consciousness, I'm telling you. So there's going to be some homework every week. Not a lot. It's not going to take a lot of your time, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a lot of fun for all of you. That's the whole goal, is to make it really exciting and fun. And so there will be, you know, channels or intuitions, or, I'm going to teach about the sun. I'm going to ask you to look at your chart and tell me what hour your sun is in and what that means to you without too much information. You know, I want you to start finding the system yourself as I teach it to you. But the classes are going to be extremely thorough. There will be one class for every sign, one class for every planet, like that. I'm going to teach it very, very thoroughly, and I do encourage questions. I want everybody to ask away. I'm there to be your teacher and your facilitator. So I seriously hope that many of you have been sparked to come and join me and take this class. Because everyone on this call is an agent for cosmic consciousness. It's not an accident that you're on this call tonight. It's not a mistake that you felt the call to come and listen. Speaking this cosmic consciousness language is an amazing way to step up into your most authentic purpose and to realize your highest goals for yourself. A couple of you mentioned that you have the goal to bring it to the world, and I believe that everyone will do it in their own way. I see myself as a teacher of very conscious souls. I know all of you are. I don't expect any of you to do what I do. I only want to share what my consciousness is and let you do your thing, because I'm sure each and every one of you is easily as conscious as I am, if not more. So I'm just here to facilitate. So I hope this new language calls to your heart and your spirit, and that you'll join me for this journey of a lifetime. And I just want to let you know that you can go right to my website, click on the daily blog, Cosmic Consciousness Daily, and then right at the top there's a link to register for the course. And you can go and you can register right online there. There are 2 ways to pay, and the information is there. Please join me. Please join me, because we're changing the world together, and that's the whole idea. So I want to thank you all so much for being here. I love all of you more than I could ever possibly explain. It means so much to me that you're all here. And all of you will receive the MP3 with a video of the presentation I gave you tonight. And feel free to email me. You can go right through the website. If you have any questions or thoughts or ideas, I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so thank you all very much for being here tonight, and I wish you all a joyful journey. Take care. Good night.